waiting for us.
Absolutely. Hey everyone, welcome to the AI Amigos show. My name is James, along here with Jin Chao. Welcome,
Hello.
Jin Chao.
Hi.
So today we got a good show, but before we get started, just a reminder: Tequila AI is sponsored by them. They sponsor our show. So the other side, Jin Chao. There you go. You get it. There you go. You got it. Oh, yeah, there. Close enough. Close enough. You're pointing to the right direction. For those wondering why we're trying to do this, is because it's a mirror image, and try pointing on a mirror image. It's just. I've already gotten used to it now. It's this side, because normally the way I see it on the screen, it's on this side.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when I point, it's not there. So
I
anyway.
changed settings, so that's why I'm pointing to.
Yeah. So we got a lot on board today to talk about, Jin Chao. A lot of interesting stuff. But you know, the main thing here, because it is a big thing, but the agent war is here.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. So now everyone, I mean, we talked about this before, Clawbot, which is now, what is it now? Moltbot? What do they change their name to? OpenClaw.
OpenClaw.
There you go. So there you go. OpenClaw. They've had some name changes, and they just released.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing as well. In China, there's particular jobs opening up now. They are installers and uninstallers. There's plenty of people in queue up to install it, and also there's plenty of people queue up for uninstalling it.
Put me down for uninstaller, okay?
It's
Well,
quite
in fairness, I
interesting.
can install as well. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah, and potentially a lot of people do like a bot army. You have multiple OpenClaw bot on your computer, so
Yeah.
you're kind of like farmers basically. They're farming them at the moment. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, but like I said, put me down, Jin Chao. I'll be the installer, okay? Yeah. So it is very interesting the way things are going, and we're seeing more and more of these agents. And I heard someone say the other day that they're talking about, like, the company will have one employee and then just multiple agents, and that's all their job is to control the agents. But I also was looking at the AI layoffs and rehiring. Have you heard about any of that? So people thought they just lay people off and then they bring them
But
back.
that's really interesting point, right? The one I was watching was those Silicon Valley guys. There's four big head guy, and we're talking about the AI use in their company. They're reaching a point. I think I mentioned this to you, James, as well. They're reaching a point in US, right? And their token cost for the year could be about, per agent or whoever using it, could be $100,000. So they're coming to this point now. Should I just hire someone, or should I continue bet on this? And basically, the token cost would go up more, right? But you're talking about those jobs. 100,000 is not the small number, right? Yeah.
No,
that's
but are you thinking, like, I mean, because I think maybe you mentioned this to me, like, right now, or was it you, or was it? I get confused now because we had a lot of conversations and here and there, and one of the things it was that right now, tokens are cheap, but eventually it will be expensive. You know what I mean? And so then you'll wind up with that equilibrium of, well, then AI cost infrastructure is cheap right now, but once tokens start going up, to get the good models, right? Then it's going to say, well, maybe I'll hire a junior developer now.
Well, I mean, I don't know what model they use, but like if you look at the cost of GPT 5.4 Pro, it's mental. Output is $25 per million token output, and input is $15, and that's huge, to my point. And I also think the company right now secretly changed the model limitation in there, and I just hit one of my limits in anti-gravity. I never hit it before, but I did hit it. Monday, it tell me I can use it again on 28th of March. So if that's the case in the future, if we work one day, off 7 days, I totally up for it. But I don't think
either that or they just bump up your plan, Jinchao. You know, I don't know.
normally I hit those because if you know, or any of our audience know, anti-gravity offers two models, basically two major models, from Claude, and then their own one, Gemini.
Yeah.
Normally I hit Claude limitation because we know Claude is quite expensive, but this is I'm hitting the Gemini. So wow, I don't know what to do.
When you go to the Claude one, if you jump to the Claude one, I find that it's not as many tokens as the Gemini. The Gemini is definitely a lot more tokens than you know.
Yeah, but the time as well. Like, how many days is that? 7 days or 8 days? I mean, the last time I hit the limit is in OpenAI. Tell me you should try it 4 hours later. This is directly sending me to. I can go on holiday and come back and still not work.
I've definitely seen people that have taken, like, I don't know if you've seen the videos where they're like, oh, you know, I'm going home now. I've got no more tokens. You know, I've hit my limit.
But this get me to research as well. Oh, we sidetracked from the news now, right? A little bit. It's just our own experiences. This is own news now. And I go looking into all those other ones. I don't suggest you use at work. That has to align with your company policy. But in my personal projects, I have to choose differently now. Now I'm going to Minimax, because what Minimax does is totally different. They have a development package. The very beginning of the starter package is 1,500 API calls for every 4 hours, right? So that's not tokens. It's every single each calls. You can have, you know, when you're using those vibe coding, when the history go on, the context window is huge, right? This is really cost you tokens, and those calls from Minimax kind of help out that. So a lot of people with open clauses, and you can see them sign up Minimax and Kimi from China, right? All those companies, they're way, way, way cheaper. And I see the stock market in China, they're bumping up crazy at the moment because the cost of there are people really going for those packages. So starter for 15,000, and then median, you're paying $23 for 4,500 calls for every 4 hours. I couldn't even exhaust my starter package. So this is the first time.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, this is the first time I give up on anti-gravity. I love the tool, but
I use it on a daily basis. That and Claude Code. I mean,
yeah, but like the cost is just too much. I'm thinking about singling one tool now, to choose one tool, maybe put a little bit more money, and that's it. Like,
well, I mean, we were talking earlier about companies that have let people go from because of AI, right? And now they're hiring back. We talked before about Klarna, which is a big one, but IBM, Salesforce, Google, I think Meta as well, that have let people go and they go, oops, sorry, we need to come back, or, you know, we need to hire people because we're not AI. I think there's a lot of hype around it. And you know, look, I mean, this is the AI Amigo show. We use AI every day, but at the end of the day, we know that it is a tool. It is not, or it, you know, it's a. And now with everything that's going with, you know, OpenClaw and you know, now we see that Claude is released Dispatch, where you can control it from your phone, and as long as you're running the app on your computer. With Cowork, it connects to your documents, your files. It can go in. I've seen people go in and it cleans their data, or cleans their not their data, but like if you have like a bunch of files that are not labeled and organized, it'll go. Then someone showed an image where it was like pictures, and it went through and each picture labeled them, organized them. So it can do a lot of that, and you can do it from your phone. And I'm thinking, if I'm on my phone, I'm not thinking about pictures I have to organize in my home computer. I'm not thinking about, but I mean, obviously that's just an example. I'm sure there's lots of other things you could do with it.
But that's where it exhausts you daily, right? I think there's a study was showing like the people get exhausted quicker who use AI from day-to-day purpose, because it's kind of psychologically different than how you approach a problem. And you approach a problem, the problem doesn't fight back, right?
Yeah.
You go through it, either you know how to do it or you don't know how to do it. Go find other research on internet or something and go through it. But with AI is you're frustrated. Sometimes it doesn't do the right thing. You're constantly correcting it. It's basically from 8 hours of the time, if you use more and more, you are training your trainee or intern or whoever is going to do the job like you. But you spend a lot of time to teaching him, which is really exhausting. We see like teachers, they are exhausting when they're teaching, right? So I think this is similar kind of feeling. I do feel that way sometimes as well. Yeah.
Well, I mean, would you feel comfortable putting an agent on your computer and just having like it can just do what it wants to do?
No. I think that's the problem with companies, right? Because they hire a whole lot of, no, I say they hire, right? They put it in a lot of those agents to do stuff, but there's nobody hold accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Just imagine your team leader, your project manager, I have this project. Okay, let's get a coding, everything done so nicely and put it online. And it went down or something. And then who are you going to blame? You know, and look at the AI and says, no, you nailed it. You nailed it, right? AI was like, you nailed it. That's
there was one case there that someone used an agent and just let it go from something I saw just recently. And in that, the agent found this like config file somewhere, this random config file. Yeah. And then it got into the database and it deleted like 3 years worth of, can you imagine? Like, I just think, oh my God, it just went and deleted all the data in the database for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And they had to contact AWS to then restore the data into the database. But these are real problems. I mean, and they're lucky that's what happened. But I mean, that for me is like, you know, you just can't give complete autonomy to an agent like that.
No,
but it is definitely the way we're going, Jinchao. I mean, if you look at, you know, OpenClaw and Dispatch, I'm sure Google is working on one at the moment as well that, you know, it can work within. And I mean, you know, look, at the end of the day, agents is the way to go, right? We need agents. But, you know, there has to be that human in the loop where it goes and does things, comes back to you and says, I want to do this. Do you approve this next step? Yes or no?
We're the trainers in the process, right? The more people using your product, the better you can tune it and push forward. And we know like every step of the way need a lot of correction. All that you have to audit the logs, change the way, fine tune it, all that sort of stuff go into. So you can see how they release those particular models. The models kind of, we don't see that wow factor on the models anymore, right? Just imagine from 3.5 GPT to 4, the wow factor there. So I think the company are really putting their time into perfect the agentic system because the model is capable now, but the agentic system didn't caught on, basically. They need a lot of tuning, a lot of refining, all that sort of stuff going on at the moment. Yeah, so let's see.
Well, I mean, someone called it was like a ChatGPT moment in regards to like, this is something that's going to be changing, you know, the way we do things. Apart from like, okay, I mean, because, you know, you had the console with ChatGPT and that was like the introduction of it, you know, and I mean, we're only talking 3 years ago, believe it or not. And now, you know, we're going into something very, very different.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you look at, going on to the next topic here, we have Amazon and OpenAI, $138 billion deal.
Oof.
Yeah, so it looks like Amazon is investing $54 billion into OpenAI, which is a total of about $138 billion.
Yeah, but the funny thing is OpenAI went with Microsoft early on, and in there, this is what I've seen that people in YouTube talking about as well, the news there, is in their contract, Microsoft was specifically says OpenAI can go on to other cloud providers, making deal with them. So this is kind of just the gray area in the contract that they're doing certain ways. They even train their employee how to say this kind of deal with Amazon. That's what I heard. So it's quite interesting. And at the same time, X is suing OpenAI as well. So there is the court date set very soon. And then OpenAI are always a black box. We don't know. It's a private company. You can't find a public record.
That's right. They don't have to disclose their financials and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when the court started, a lot of those documentation on how they run a company, what's the burn rate of their cash and all that will show up. So that's why like OpenAI right now is looking for IPO as quick as possible. They don't want the claw to beat them, and also something to relate it to this court cases as well. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I was looking at here. It says basically AWS is becoming OpenAI's exclusive third-party cloud provider, and a 1.2 gigawatt data center in Texas in the mix. Okay. So basically, it's going to be their only provider. The irony is the two biggest OpenAI backers, Microsoft and Amazon, which you said, are both deepening Anthropic relationships simultaneously. But I mean, I see now, like if you go into, you can use Claude inside your Excel, you can use Claude inside your PowerPoint. It's not inside Word yet, but I mean, you would have thought they would have gone with OpenAI, but they've gone with Claude instead.
I think it's a good decision. Claude is taking over, to be honest. They are expensive, but their stuff really works at the moment.
It got good. I mean, I use Claude Code on a daily basis, and it's the shit, man. As we say, it's really good, man. It's really, really good.
Or I like to use them, and then like Claude Sonnet 4.5 or Gemini 3.1 Pro. But well, Gemini sent me for a holiday for a week. I don't know how to respond to
that. Well, it wasn't a paid holiday. That's the problem, right? Or was it?
Problem. Yeah. The next gap is $129, and like that's a huge jump.
That's a huge jump, right? There's nothing in between, like going from 20 to let's say 30 or 50. Yeah. Maybe you would decide, okay, I'll pay a little bit more.
The problem is the contract in there is very blurry. It just says a even bigger, a limit. But how big the limit is to justify the 129 and 29?
Well, so, what do you call Claude allows you now when you reach your limits, and they have limits. They have daily or sometime time frame limits, and you can you have to be out for like 3 hours, 4 hours, and then it accumulates into a weekly time limit. And I'm always watching that like a hawk, because it's like, but once you reach it, this message comes up and said, "Would you like to buy more tokens?" So you can buy more if you like to. Which I'm going nah, because
it can ask me to enable what Google call overflow button. I was no.
Yeah, because it's not very clear, right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of different models, there's a lot of model releases that are coming up. GPT 5.4, Gemini 3.0, which you mentioned already, Claude 4.6, which is going to be Sonnet and Opus as well, right? And then Llama 4. Open weights, the open source anchor, is a closed source weak. So I mean, there's
Llama or Llama 4.
A Llama, no L on that. Llama 4, according to what I'm reading here. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have 4 frontier models that are shipping simultaneously.
Yeah.
So
there's some information. There's some news talking about like the first quarter of 2026. Even before this news, there's roughly about 225 different models was in the Hugging Face just released.
Well, we got what? How many days do we have left? We got less than a week left.
Yeah, but imagine the speed of it, and everybody's training a model and released them as 226 models.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, and it's becoming more and more competitive. I mean, we see that well, obviously Claude Code's been out for quite some time, but now which the Codex has been released some time, but I may not even use it. I mean, when I first started using AI, it was ChatGPT, and I use it all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And now I'm not really using. I mean, I do use ChatGPT. I still pay their subscription, so I probably should go use Codex. But yeah.
But how much does that getting you now? Even you pay 20, but now there's just a lot of new models with different pricing point. What you can use is tiny.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not running to my limits with ChatGPT yet, but I'm not using it as much as I'm using Claude Code.
Yeah.
But one thing that, like one thing I like doing with ChatGPT, particularly on my phone, the app, is I dictate, so I speak to it, and it transcribes my message. The thing is, it's like I'm running to limits. It's like, oh, you've got 10 limits. Your 10-minute limit is up, but it doesn't tell you when you will be able to. So the dictation part of it, you get like a 10-minute limit, but it doesn't tell you when the 10 limit, when can you go again and do again? You know what I mean? It just says you hit your 10-minute limit for dictation.
7 days later, that's what you get.
Are they sending me on holiday too, Jinchao? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And drop your phone, enjoy your holiday. There you go.
Well, the last thing we have on the agenda today, Jinchao, is the Gartner's 40% plus the cost collapse. So Gartner's number 40% of enterprise apps will include AI agents by the end of this year, 2026. And it's kind of the start of the new visionary, or is this laughable? So
Right.
what counts as an agent? So they're saying 40% of AI apps are now going to have AI agents.
Yeah.
Well,
But we know, like,
more and more.
This is the kind of thing, like, people's CV. I like to mention it because we're hiring someone in my company at the moment. This is kind of similar to people's CV. There's a lot of people with every point of the stuff on the CV says, I can do this, I can do that, but in reality, they can't. But they use that, or in some very surface level. And there's people can actually do one thing on the CV, can do quite deeply and quite professionally. And this could be it. You can quickly do a wrapper inside. You say you connect to the weather API. You can call it agent and make an MCP of it. You can get all those buzzwords, but like but does that really work? What does that solve? So yeah, we have to take it with the solve.
Well, today is the 25th of March. For first quarter, about to end the first quarter. We'll be talking about this me and I will be back talking about this end of the year. And let's see if this is the year of the agent. Is it really true? Do all of 40% of apps have it? AI have it? We'll see, right? And then the second part of this is that there's a cost collapse. So inference costs dropped by orders of magnitude cheaper than late 2024. So it says here, this is a quiet story underneath all the flashy agent launches. The economics of running AI have fundamentally changed. Claude Code's revenues grew by 5x from July 2025 and is now past the 2.5 billion ARR. Partly because of falling costs make it economical to use AI for longer, which I would agree with that, for more complex tasks. And then who wins in this cost collapse? So if we're saying it's a cost collapse, does that mean we're going to see the same subscription level and more tokens?
I think for sure the agent definitely optimized a lot of AI use. I can see that. I mean, like at the start of the AI at that time, all we do is go into the console and keep asking the same question and keep getting the wrong answer, right? So now you pass down your question, and you don't need to do that, and an agent can handle it efficiently. I do see that can save time and token for user if you're doing the right thing. But I'm not sure we're 100% there, but I can see it why. It's kind of like our researching, right? The utility those days. In I think I mentioned last year, United States from 1970 to 2000, the electricity is going up all the time, right? Every year they're using so much more electricity than the previous one, and then the infrastructure building and then power station, all that from 2000 on, and none of those companies stopped, or like they still need plenty electricity, but what they find out is how to save or optimize what they have for like 15, 20 years now. And they saved 18 megawatt a year or something like that. So there is currently something similar happening in AI, I see, because the US grid can't handle just keep adding cards. And people have to thinking about a way to keep that going.
Let's put the data centers in space, because that's the most efficient place to put it.
Yeah.
But of course,
yeah, and then well, Nvidia cards would be happy to put it out there. I see.
But I mean, more and more stuff, like there's one I was looking at this week, Ruffalo, or UFLO, and they got like, it's got like, agent orchestrator. It works with Claude, which it's pretty good. Just, they had some security issues last year. But the thing is, for me, and again, you do your research before you start using any tools. And I did my research in this one, and I'm not using it right now. But what was a key point that I saw there is that they have this optimization now. So with the agents, they will delegate. So you can use Swarm, and it can multi-agents. But what it will do is that when it's a big task, it will obviously break down the task, and then use the lower models for the smaller tasks. And you can reduce your token usage between 30 to 50% by just doing that. So instead of using, the slow or the low model, we use the fast model. But for smaller tasks that are not as vital for the project as such. So, but I think that probably looking at for simpler tasks, doing that, that's a good way to streamline, the workflow.
Yeah, it can orchestrate your task, right? Find the capable. I think there's a repos out there in GitHub. I remember someone was talking about it as well. Yeah, you can.
That's this Ruffalo one. That's the one that they have. But like I said, there are some security issues they're fixing up. They've written in January. They rewrote a lot of their code. So, but what I am seeing is that, or I'm saying, it's probably going to be a coming trend in regards to because it's like yourself right now, you've run out of your tokens. What do you do now? You're off for a week or what? Or do you have like now where you can have agents that orchestrate and manage your? I mean, you're doing it right now. You're managing your token usage.
Yeah.
What if you have agents that can manage that and say, oh, this task here, this part of this task can be this model, and this one for this model, and this one for this model, and it orchestrates it all out for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way you can work all week. You don't take the week off, Jinsha.
That's also the news last week. Was somebody had a GitHub repo you can install in your Visual Studio, Visual Code, I think. It gives you a pixelated, like kind of an old time the games, very pixelated and 2B or 8-bit. And each of your agent is actually a person walking around. And you can see them have a meeting, they communicate with each other. So those people walking into a meeting room talking, and if they're coding, they walk off sitting in front of the computer, they're coding and something. It's really interesting. I will find the GitHub. I wanted to install that. It's really interesting.
Well, it is good to see it visually, right? Because then you can see what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And it moves very fast, and that could be sometimes very scary because how it comes up with things. But yeah.
Yeah. But the other news I think is we always not talking about this. There's a company called, I forgot what's the name, is one guy was talking about. And there's a project called Ask Tony or Ask Sammy or whatever. So they put the architecture of those right into the CPU. So this guy was get invited. I think it's Adobe, the CEO or something, get invited into their newly built CPU and test it out. So we know our CPU can do, or GPU can do like 100 tokens per second or something like that. But that one can do 15,000 tokens a second.
15,000.
Yeah. So you ask a question about where you can go in London. Let's say you have a 7 days holiday or something. Done.
Wow.
And just that quick. So the next phase, I think the agent to agent, they don't communicate like you and me, right? I speak so slow. You speak faster. Our communication is definitely not catching up the speed of agentic AIs. Imagine later on they have a conversation for 2 seconds, sorted, and next task.
Yeah.
They will speed like past human, right? When we have a meeting, we have misunderstanding, we have feedback, we have confusion. It's hardly have an outcome in a meeting. Imagine those guys.
Politics, inter-office politics and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine those agents, if they're right in place now, they're probably faster than us already using 200, 300 tokens a second. But imagine
they're definitely faster than us. I mean, yeah.
1,000 tokens a second. That's crazy speed. Yeah. Just rethinking now.
Well, Jin Xiao, we've come to a very sad moment.
No. I'm on holiday. It's the
end of our show. It's the end of our show.
Yeah, the Gemini says I can only use my token from 28th of March. I've been told 7 days ago. So
you can go outside and you can go and you can enjoy some margaritas and flip flops. Oh, wait a minute, no, it's Ireland. No, never mind. You can enjoy your evening and you can have a lie-in because you know that tomorrow you don't have to worry about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to thank you, Jin Xiao. Thanks for our viewers. And we will see you guys next week, which will have more interesting topics. Remember that we are sponsored by Tequila AI, and we'll see you next week. There you go. You got it, Jin Xiao. You got it.
Yeah, I got it.
See you guys.
Bye now. Thank you.